The most resounding message we're hearing from the White House and across the world and people across this nation is that this attack on democracy will not go on unchallenged, that the Tennessee House Republicans' attempt to crucify democracy has instead resurrected a movement led by young people to restore our democracy, to build a multiracial coalition. We are in the midst of a third Reconstruction here, beginning here in Nashville.
That was just a bit of a recent media appearance by Justin Jones, recent state representative, future state representative. If if there's any justice in this universe, both him and his colleague Justin Pearson, the two of the Tennessee three that were actually expelled from the Tennessee state legislature, say that they want to be reappointed to their seats and then eventually run to be reelected once again by their constituents to those seats. And I wanted to give people an update of that process, because I know in the wake of what happened on Thursday last week, everyone is wondering what's going to happen, when is it going to happen, when are we going to have these people who are so unjustly removed from their positions put back into them? Well, we're going to start with Justin Jones. So a majority of members of the Nashville Metropolitan Council will apparently vote to reinstate Justin Jones to the legislature after he was expelled. They have 39 members on the council. They're going to be having a special meeting today to discuss the placement. It seems like a lock. That's what it's been presented as for the last day or so. And so for Jones, it seems like we're gonna have a very quick resolution to this, at least for now. They will have to run again, but bear in mind they've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, which very few very young state legislators would have access to in terms of a war chest. For Justin Pearson's though, we have Mikkel Lowry, chairman of the Shelby County Commission, saying this weekend that the panel will consider at a meeting Wednesday whether to reappoint him. Lowry said he understands the need to respond to those who, quote, transgressed the rules of the state House of Representatives, but also added, however, I believe the expulsion of State Representative Justin Pearson was conducted in a hasty manner without consideration of other corrective action methods. I also believe that the ramifications for our great state are still yet to be seen. So that to me reads as a little bit of careful language that I would prefer to not have coming from one of the people who's going to decide this. It doesn't sound like, it sounds like maybe it leads to him being reappointed, but maybe it's like, well, decorum and all that, and we'll have to see. It feels almost like a reading of the room, which shouldn't be your approach. But even if it was your approach, how have you not yet read it? How do you not yet understand how people respond? Because if they don't appoint him, well, then the Republicans are still the bad guy, but now you are too. And you can expect and you will deserve the protests that you will face. What do you think, Francesca?
I mean, I'm so glad that this story isn't just, now that's what happens in Tennessee, and let's just, oh, well, then that's our state legislature, doopy-doo. No, the fact that this has made national news is for a number of reasons. Obviously, the heinous killings in Nashville, which we're now understanding that Covenant School had all of the measures in place that Republicans want in terms of training and firearms and all that stuff, and children were still murdered and 9 people were still murdered. So there's that. And then you have some of the youngest representatives in the state legislature standing up, going viral, for lack of a better term, right? Galvanizing the youth, not just in their state, but around the country, and of course, they're African Americans. So all of these things together, and the fact that they get expelled. So it's the traction, it's the linchpin, it's the moment that we need to really get something done, not just around gun control and to stop gun violence in states like Tennessee, but also in service of real democracy. You saw Justin Jones mention there, we're in the middle of a third Reconstruction, and that is, a hat tip to Reverend William Barber III, who led the Moral Mondays movement in North Carolina. It is a discussion of the fact that second Reconstruction was the civil rights movement. The first Reconstruction was when slavery was ended, right? And that none of those reconstructions to bring justice, real justice to all people in this nation, whether it's children who want to avoid being murdered, or whether it's black people who want to not be over-policed, to have access to the ballot box, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that is work that is not done. And so it is so incredibly inspiring that 2 young black legislators are the ones who led this charge, who are taking also the lead from students and young people, and who are not backing down. So this could be one of those moments that we look back to and say, yeah, that kicked off a new wave of civil rights in our country around all kinds of issues.
Yeah, I would hope that it leads to others running for office. Obviously, look, Tennessee is hostile ground for, I mean, outside of a couple of the main cities, it's hostile ground, which, obviously that has an impact on the ability of these gentlemen to, rise to higher levels in state politics. But, and by the way, don't jump to conclusions. You need to learn more about the politics on a bunch of other issues. But the fact that, one rose to prominence while helping to lead civil rights protests and one rose to prominence while opposing a pipeline, these are good signs early on in the career of a state legislator. But I think a lot of people probably expect now that, yeah, we could be seeing the beginnings of great things in terms of a movement, but also in terms of the career of these individuals who've been willing to risk so much to make sure that their constituents are heard.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.